Super Cool Radio.
Hello, everyone. I am Matthew Thomas. This is Super Cool Radio. Got a great guest with me at this time. Hailing from Queens, New York. Toured with Nina Strauss in 2019 and released a new single on December 6th with a music video on December 10th for a new single entitled Vengeance Is Not Enough. Please welcome the Bastard Child of New York City, Kore Rozzik.
What it is.
All right, now I got to catch my breath after that long
That was a lot. Yeah, that was a lot.
I usually try to give enough information where people, if anyone's not promoted, they gain some interest, and if they already know you, they know everything about you, and that was a waste of time for them. But that's okay.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you so much for hanging out with me here on Super Cool Radio. So obviously some big stuff going on for you. Not only did I mention new single, Vengeance Not Enough, dropping very soon, but coming up this Friday, you got a really cool headlining show coming up in Baltimore at Zen West, really cool Mexican restaurant concert venue.
That's right.
So anyone interested, what can they expect from a Kore Rozzik show?
Well, any Kore Rozzik show is going to be intense, high energy, and you never really know what I'm going to say. I'm usually very funny and at times politically incorrect. But I think the fans are okay with that. I haven't been canceled yet, so far so good. Fingers crossed. But yeah, we do a lot of theatrics. I'm very much influenced by Alice Cooper. So there's always the occasional prop and jacket change and things like that. We do a lot of lights and smoke. We really put on a fun show, and I think we're always the pleasant surprise when we're doing supporting, slots. People who have never seen us that come to see the big bands are like, whoa, this band was great. I couldn't believe it. So that's what you can expect for a Kore Rozzik show. But this show is really, really special for a variety of reasons. It's one of our few headlining shows this year. So it's a full headlining set. So for all our fans far and wide, come down and get to see a full set of us. But what's really cool about it is that we haven't been to Baltimore since February of 2020. That was our one and only show for 2020. I think it was like February 1st, and we played Fishhead Cantina. And we have a lot of really, really cool, loyal fans down there, especially from touring with Nina Strauss in 19. And I remember the show was really great. Everybody, the energy was high. Everyone was like awesome. I was like, oh man, this is going to be a great year, We all know what happened then after that. Mm-hmm. So it's special in that, but what's really special about it is I said, we got to go all out. So I said, all right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to play our debut record, Vengeance Overdrive, in its entirety from start to finish. So like running order, like if you were listening to the record with all the little like intro skits, because there's a lot of skits in it, just play it as if like you're listening to the record at home, play some new songs. And also we're going to debut the new video for the new song, Vengeance Is Not Enough. So whoever comes down is going to get to see that video before it comes out the following week. So it's just jam packed with gimmicks,
Yeah, I love that. You mentioned my favorite artist is Alice Cooper, so I mean the dude is just awesome.
Yes.
But yeah, all that sounds really awesome. I love shows. I've only been to a few shows where like a band plays their entire album in its entirety. I always think that's really cool, like for kind of like one-off shows or specialty tours or stuff.
Yes.
I always think it's a really cool idea.
I think so too, and I think it's kind of an ambitious move of us because, we're still, I would still say we're very much a hidden gem. We're still very underground. I would say we have a small cult following. Bands of our level sometimes wouldn't do that. In fact, it's funny because there's actually a lot of bands that you would say are bigger than us, bands that are on, bigger tours or do a lot of festival runs that don't headline and probably never would play like their first record in its entirety. So I said, well, we're going to break those rules and we're going to do that. And being that it's a fun record with a story and skits, I just thought, why don't we do that? I mean, granted, we've been playing a lot of those songs for the last, 3-4 years now, but we've never done it in that type of arrangement. So I'm excited to do it, and it might be the only time we do it. I'm kind of ready to move on to the next era of Kore Rozzik. So this is kind of going to be a kind of a send-off, for Vengeance Overdrive. If the pandemic hadn't happened, we probably would have put out our second record by now. I never intended to have a 4-year gap between releasing new music. But 2020 really messed everything up for a lot of bands, especially smaller bands like us, who may not have the $1 million budget. And I just didn't really want to release new music during a pandemic. I felt like doing that's kind of a 50-50. There is kind of that mentality of like, oh, well, people are home. People want to be entertained. They need something to take their mind off stuff. And in a way, that would be a reason to do it. But I also felt, at least for me personally, I only listened to so much new music during that time period. I kind of just was listening to the classics and was just in my own little world. And I wasn't really as in tune to what was fresh or new. To me, it was almost like new music didn't count as much, like Alice put out a new record, Manson put out a new record, and it's not that I didn't listen to them, but I didn't have the same kind of enthusiasm going into listening to them. I was just kind of like, oh yeah, that's cool. I don't know. I just kind of was like, okay, whatever, Yeah,
it is kind of interesting for like last year. Because to me, like heavy new music means going back out on tour. Like, hey, we have new songs we want to perform live, and you can buy this album and support it. So I can definitely see where you're going with that. As you said, like, I mean, I love the new Alice Cooper album, Detroit Stories. I mean, it was awesome. It was classic rock, not too much theatrics. It was more like straightforward rock and roll. Which is a little bit different for Alice.
Absolutely. Well, he goes through phases. I'm really looking forward to when the next record comes out, because he's finally doing it with the band that he's had all these years, obviously with Ryan, Roxy, and Nita and everybody like that. So I'm hoping stylistically that record's a little bit more mixed and maybe a little heavier, because as we all know, Nita obviously can shred it, of course, So I'm hoping there's a little bit of that raise your fist and yell, maybe just a little bit in there somewhere, can only hope,
Yeah, definitely. I honestly, I think Constrictor and Raise Your Fist and Yell are like two very underrated Alice Cooper albums.
Yes.
They kind of flew under the radar. I know that was kind of his comeback from, making music he doesn't remember to releasing some, like, really, it was hard hitting. It was really different for, like, obviously Flush to Fashion, the last album he remembers. The three he doesn't, I don't count. I don't listen to them. It's not.
You don't?
No.
Why not? Those records are great.
That's what people tell me. To me, if he doesn't remember making it, it's not like I'm going to see the songs live or anything.
You know what it is? They're those records are very quirky. There's a novelty aspect to them. There's definitely a strange sense of humor on those records, which again, Alice has always had that. I like diving into those records because it kind of takes you to this kind of forgotten era, and there's kind of this weird relation to some of the stuff he did in the early 80s to like Blue Oyster Cult. There's a bit of that weirdness there too, and I've become a huge fan of. I'm a late BOC fan, but I'm a huge BOC fan now. So it's just kind of interesting to see like the styles and the way the records were recorded. No, I actually really like the Blackout era. I mean, I'm a weird fan. I probably listen more to that stuff than some of the classic 70s, but I'm just a weird fan like that. I get off at bands having those kind of like weird, albums in their discography. I find those kind of interesting.
To clarify, I have listened.
Yeah, that's Beans Rozzik. All our hardcore fans know who she is. She's more of an attention hog than I am.
My cat is currently sleeping upstairs, so she doesn't like when I do anything. She like stays far away from me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've listened to them at least once, the albums, but I don't know. It just maybe it's a little bit too weird for my taste
Okay.
for this stuff. But obviously, like I really liked Constrictor and Razorfish Neo, and then obviously through the 2000s, Brutal Planet's one of my favorite actually.
Yes.
I don't think it's a whole lot of love, even though he does. He played Brutal Planet for I believe his last tour, or 2 tours ago. Whenever I saw him, which was awesome. That's honestly a really great opening song.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm very much influenced by that era, and I was lucky enough to see him twice on the Dragontown tour, and that tour holds a very special place in my heart because unfortunately my father passed away at a young age, but my dad used to always take me to the concerts, and that was like one of the last concerts. And when I got to meet Alice, which was, Nita hooked that up for me, which was really cool. I kind of got to tell him kind of my backstory of my father and kind of the irony of the day that my dad passed. Many years later, I saw him, with Nita, and only to then crazingly a year later get to tour with Nita and then get to go on stage with Nita and sing "I'm 18." And, when I got to do that, I just kept looking up. I'm like, I know my dad would be proud and that he was, he's watching me. So that was, and it was cool. Like when I met Alice, I kind of wanted to sell him on the Kore Rozzik character, but I didn't do that. We really just talked about life and family. It was really cool.
Yeah, definitely. And I've heard he's a really cool guy to talk to. That he doesn't talk about music like very like if you're just having a conversation. It's usually about just different stuff that's not even music related. Yeah,
I felt very comfortable with him. I felt like I was talking to like my grandpa or something like that. It was. I came out of it very quiet. People expected me to be like, "Oh my God," I was just very like, okay, I had that experience. I haven't been starstruck too many times. I've had the pleasure of meeting a lot of my peers and my idols. I guess I was a little starstruck. I was a little nervous, but I kept my cool,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I haven't met him. I'd love to meet him at some point. Hopefully I get the chance. I'd like to go golfing with him sometime. I think he would beat me. I'm not super great, but I'm better than what I was. So I feel like he would still beat me.
I've never played golf, but I think that would be a good excuse to do it,
Definitely, for sure. But yeah, Alice Cooper's awesome. I'm seeing them coming up in January in Wabash, Indiana, of all places. So I look forward to that. Plus, I'm seeing Nita just over 2 weeks. So I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, no, hopefully at some point, if it's in the cards, maybe we'll eventually do something again with that camp. That Anita's camp is great. It's an extension of the Alice Cooper camp, and getting the tour with them was really a great learning experience, and it was kind of a blessing because we've done tours with other people that didn't treat us that well. To the point of having PTSD, really, and I think me just being Kore Rozzik, the bastard child in New York City, I'm just used to people not really being like that nice or embracing me or seeing me as kind of like a threat or something. And they were always like, "Yo, like come to the movies with us on an off day. Let's throw the football around in the parking lot." It was kind of, I think she got that from how Alice Cooper, treats his camp. That was, it was really nice. It was very welcoming. It was great.
I bet, definitely, for sure. I've heard a lot of great things about obviously Nita and Alice Cooper, the way they treat people and stuff. And I think it's really refreshing for obviously for some tours. I've heard not so great things about bands, but it's definitely they really live up to it on stage and off the stage as well.
For sure, yeah.
But getting back to love chat about Alice Cooper and Nita Strauss, which is awesome. But getting back to you, so I know you got some great stuff coming up. Not only a headlining show coming up Friday, but you're dropping a brand new single on December 6th entitled "Vengeance Is Not Enough." What can people expect from this single?
Yeah, it's funny. The first record was called Vengeance Overdrive. And at some point down the line, I thought it would be kind of funny if there was something that kind of had a nod to the first record. And I just thought, vengeance is not enough. It sounds like the name of like a James Bond sequel or something, Kore Rozzik and vengeance is not enough. I'm trying to think of like what's like a cliche James Bond title, you know, like Evil Never Dies or, you know, something like that. So I thought it was a cool title, and I kind of said it kind of jokingly, and then it just kind of turned into a song. I think what people can expect from that song is it's got that same kind of, you know, Kore Rozzik metal edge, very abrasive, very in your face, you know, with the usual kind of quirky lyrics and, you know, a very catchy sing-along chorus. But it's funny. I think this song and a lot of the other stuff we're going to be doing moving forward, even though it sounds strange to say this, I think a lot of stuff we're doing moving forward is going to be heavier in one way, but then actually more catchier than the first record. It's kind of a mix. The song's a different kind of heavy. You know, the riffs are somewhat of a nod to, like, say, Spellbound, which was a song on the first record that was very open note kind of driving. It's got that kind of verse to it. The song is kind of a nod to where we've been. So I feel like Vengeance Is Not Enough is kind of like that slight progression, but also kind of closing the chapter. It's kind of like that middle. It's kind of like that bridge between Vengeance Overdrive and what basically the next record will be whenever that record comes out. I think at this point, we're just going to do a couple of singles and then just kind of see where we're at. Because we're officially not signed to Cleopatra Records right now. We're kind of independent, as a lot of artists are. So, you know, we'll kind of see what's in the cards. I definitely want to eventually release another full-length concept record, but for now we're going to do the modern thing and just kind of put out a couple of singles and see where it goes. Because for a band like us, you know, we built up a small cult following, but, you know, the pandemic really kicked our ass. You know, a band like us, it sounds cliche, but we were probably one or two more tours away from getting that next level of fans and really, you know, solidifying something. And that just kind of wiped us out almost, you know. In fact, there's a lot of bands of our level that probably called it quits during this. You know, I actually thought at one point that maybe we were going to be done, you know, that maybe I would just move to the woods, even though I pretty much am living in the woods, but just that between all of the things that, you know, the band just wouldn't get it together. And for the first half of 2020, it was like pulling teeth. You know, everybody was in kind of COVID mode where like nobody wanted to do anything. And I was really still trying to stay positive and push people. And then it was so funny. I remember just as we were about to do our first return show in New York City this year in August, I felt so exhausted because I'd been pushing all this time just to finally do something. And now I'm finally about to do something. And I'm like, I don't know if I have any more energy now. I've been pushing through this freaking pandemic to like make something happen. And we're still scratching. You know, the industry was always tough. But I think for certain bands trying to like get that next step now through the pandemic, it's hard because everyone's gunning for that spot. And there's the usual politics with money and whatnot with the business to get to where you want to be. So, but it's been a blessing. We've done a handful of shows this year and they've all been well received. And the fans have still come out and buying our merch and all that. So, even though I had my feelings about releasing new music during the pandemic, I said, you know, literally enough's enough. We gotta put something out to at least wrap up this year and say, hey, like we're back. We are doing stuff. We're not still dormant or whatever, you know. So I said, let's put this out at the end of the year and write it into next year and see where it takes us.
Yeah, I really like that approach, especially. I mean, 2020, it was hard on everybody. Like a lot of bands, unfortunately, like started pretty much ground zero with stuff. Like they had stuff going, you had momentum, and then not doing anything for almost 2 years. I mean, it hurts everybody.
Oh yeah.
Not only musicians and bands, but you know, the venues too. Like I know quite a few venues unfortunately had to close down and may not reopen or have to, you know, sell and reopen under someone else. But
right,
you know, it was rough for the whole music and entertainment industry.
No, it was. I mean, Blackthorn in Queens, that was kind of that was like our home, you know, as far as New York City went. I'm from Queens, and that was kind of like our hometown spot. And you know, the owner Nikki would always let me kind of do my, you know, my little Give Thanks or Die holiday shows and my Core Fest, and he really give us an outlet to be that headlining band, you know. So yeah, and they had to close their doors. And when I actually thought because it was Queens, the rent's cheaper than Manhattan, I thought they might be the ones to kind of stick it out. But no, they closed. And when I saw that, I was like, all right, well, that's it, man. Like, you know, this is really for real. This is not good. And it was tough. I mean, I remember, I mean, I'll be honest, it's all a blur now. I don't even remember when we resumed rehearsing, but I remember when we first started rehearsing, man, like it was rough. We weren't sounding that good. Some of the guys in my band kind of had attitudes. They were just kind of like, this sucks. It's not sounding good. It's not working. And I was like, guys, like it's going to take some work to get back to where we were and better, like after not doing it for so long, I remember some of those earlier rehearsals, even though my voice was fresh from not being on the road, there would be certain types of notes or mannerisms, the way I would do my singing that wasn't quite there yet. Cause like, it's like a muscle. You have, I'd been recording stuff at home, but like really belting it out in a live setting, we hadn't done that. So even for me, I was like, oh man, like, am I still capable of doing this? And I think only in the last 2 shows, I've really gotten comfortable and found my stride again. I think even some of those first couple of shows, even though people said they were good, I felt kind of stiff, about how I was moving on stage and stuff. It's just like kind of getting back into it, it's been tough, it really has.
Yeah, I can imagine, especially like not being like doing stuff like almost on a regular basis. You get pretty much, you have your nature of just like, this is what I do. I'm just not even thinking about it. And then taking a long period of time and then now trying to get back, like you don't remember, the muscle memory, as you said, it's gone. It's not there. You have to relearn everything. Like I took a week break from like recording my show and doing my stuff. And I'm like, how do I set this up? What do I do? And I'm like, it shouldn't be this hard.
Right. Yeah, no, it's been a while. And it's funny. I think everyone's experienced this with COVID just in life. It could be anything. It could be the most basic thing. Unless you're like a hardcore athlete or whatever, it's like, something as simple as going to the gym or even doing a show, I mean, we used to go on tours. We used to do all these things. And then it's like, you just go to one concert and you're standing for like an hour and you're like, oh, I feel tired, man. Like, this is so stressful just getting to the show and doing. Whereas before, you didn't think about it. We used to joke. We used to do these like crackhead runs where like, we'd be in San Antonio, Texas on a Thursday and have to be back in New York on a Saturday to play a show upstate somewhere. And it's like, how did we do all that shit like a couple of years ago? It's like, now it's like, if we had to do that now, it'd almost be like, oh man, I don't know if I want to do that. It's like we got so accustomed to just being home doing nothing, So building that stamina up is, it's a thing. I don't think us as a society have really had to. I mean, I guess in the olden days, like in the ice ages or the plagues or whatever, like maybe that was a normal thing. Every 10 years there's a famine or something. You're gonna have to lock it down for a year, but. We're so not used to doing stuff like that.
Sorry, losing my voice there.
All right.
But yeah, no, people weren't used to all the different things that weren't happening anymore. That we're used to being out. Like I went to one of my first standing shows, like since like stuff was opening up, and I'm like, why do my knees hurt? Like this shouldn't be an issue,
right?
With stuff. But yeah, dude, I totally feel you with that stuff. And I'm just starting to get back to the swing of, oh yeah, I can stand for 4 hours. That's not a problem.
No, yeah, for sure. So, it's a process and, COVID's still a thing. And even though, sometimes it seems like it's not, before you know it, there's, again, not to get political, but the news definitely likes to, freak us out and scare us and everything, so we don't really know what next year is holding. I'm hoping next year is going to be better. But we don't know. I mean, there's tours being booked. There's also a lot of tours being postponed still. And we're just trying to find our place and figure out what's best. Can we go on a big tour and open up for somebody, or do we need to go completely DIY and just be very selective of which markets we go to and just make sure that we have fans in that general area with some strong support? And, we definitely have offers to come back to Fort Wayne, Indiana, and play at the Rockstar Lounge. I know Alan, that's like his new venture. So, that's something that we can do. We have a lot of fans in Cincinnati. There's a variety of smaller clubs we can play there. So, we're also trying to figure out what's the most feasible, what's the most productive route, because, you can go on a big tour, but if it's not the right band to support, you're not going to necessarily convert fans. You may not make money in merch. It's a lot of strategy. opening up for bigger bands are good because you can expand your fan base, which is what we want when we get to the next level of doing bigger fans. But if you do it smart, if you do have a small fan base like we do, you might be able to do some smaller but still good business where you can still turn some sort of a profit and at least keep the brand out there. So we're still trying to figure out what's going to be the right way to go next year. But either way, we have to tour and we have to keep putting out new music. So.
Yeah, for sure. And I know right now it seems like, I mean, with all the news and stuff, I won't get into everything. People, if they watch the news, they know with everything, it's kind of day by day right now. At least I feel like it for stuff. And I do hope we get some clear direction, at the beginning of next year and just see what happens. Either way sounds like it would probably be both feasible for you. We'll just, obviously have to see what happens. I know I was supposed to see you, I think it was summer of 2020. Alan set up a show at the
I remember that. Yeah, because it was funny, man. Like I listen, I took COVID very seriously, and I mean that's also why and I was fortunate enough that I do have a home here in Pennsylvania that during the whole my zip code in New York was a hotspot. I was lucky and fortunate I got out of Dodge, and I didn't go back to New York for about 3 or 4 months. And pretty much now since then, I've just done the back and forth, and I come down to New York for some business and to see the band and stuff. But I've definitely been enjoying my time here in Pennsylvania. We've been doing a lot of shows here in Pennsylvania, which is funny because we used to always not play PA for some reason. So it's been kind of cool to build up these markets. I'm rambling. I forgot what the heck the point I was going to make. Despite all that, I still kind of wanted to make a statement, and I was kind of like, yo, fuck COVID. Like, if no one else is going to freaking play during the pandemic, Kore Rozzik is. And we really tried. I mean, we had a show in Cincinnati that got rescheduled 3 times, and then it just never happened. And yeah, that Angola show, that was one of them. It just never happened, unfortunately. Because I was at this point now, I was like, well, listen, if this is the only place in the country that's going to be open that'll book us, screw it, I'll do a one-off just to say that we did it, that we played something. But it just wasn't in the cards, and that was frustrating for me because I kept pushing. I it's not that I don't respect the health of people or anything like that, but I was also kind of like, yo, man, this is my life, man. I got to do something. I'm done. If New York is shut down, that's fine. But if something's open and it seems safe, whatever, let's just do it. So, but no, unfortunately, we only had one show in 2020, and we've been fortunate enough to do a handful of shows this year. So, it's still progress.
Yeah, you gotta take what you can from it. I know, obviously, last year was really rough for everything, but yeah, to the point, you make money doing shows and tours and stuff. That's how you earn a living with stuff, and to not do that, I mean, it's got to be incredible. It was incredibly rough last year.
It's tough. I mean, it's and again, we don't make $1 million being Kore Rozzik, unfortunately, not yet, anyways, but. Money aside, it's also for the soul, man. I mean, this is my purpose. It's yeah, sure, I could just say screw it. I'm gonna live in the woods, and I'll just I don't know, I'll go work at Walmart and just chill. And there's nothing wrong with that. So for a lot of people, a very simple life, family, whatever is cool, but that's not the route I picked. You know what I mean? So for me, it's kind of I don't feel satisfied or accomplished, and I naturally feel that way regardless. I think that's just an artist thing. So yeah, being stuck at home was just I'm dying over here. COVID's been very serious. Listen, it made a lot of people sick, and a lot of our loved ones did die from it. But I don't want to say that it's a joke. It's not a joke, but for some of us, I think the mental effects of it has almost been worse than the physical effects. If you didn't get deathly sick of COVID, you probably are still suffering from anxiety and depression and cabin fever and all that other stuff. So I definitely experienced all of that. I mean, it messes with your psyche. As humans, we're supposed to connect and communicate and interact and do stuff. So, and as much as I'm very much a big character on stage, I am kind of an introvert, I think. and I can be a homebody from time to time. But I've always justified that, well, my social outing is me being Kore Rozzik and going on stage and hanging out with the fans and doing that. That's my time to be social, you know? So I'm like, well, if I'm not having that, then what the hell am I doing? You know? So it's been tough for me, but you know, despite that, I've still been, you know, very fortunate that, that I did have COVID, but I didn't get like deathly ill from it or anything like that, luckily. So I'm still very, very, very fortunate. You know, I can't complain, you know, but it's been tough.
You know, sorry to hear you had COVID. Glad you didn't have any of the severe symptoms. I'm very glad to hear that. But no, you know, COVID, it's not a joke. It was, you know, taken very seriously by many people in the music and entertainment business. There's still, you know, obviously I know some safe concerts that happen, social distancing, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm glad people were able to find a way around it. But it's also like the physical interaction with people, to actually see their reaction when you're on stage playing their music,
yes,
interacting with your music. I think that's a very big part for a musician.
Absolutely, and it was great to come back and be able to do that. And even during the pandemic, I was nuts. I traveled far. I would travel 4 or 5 hours to go to any 80s metal show that was open, and a lot of them were like outdoor things, you know, with wineries and things like that. I went to see Blue Oyster Cult in Pittsburgh on a cold October night. You know, you can't get any better than that. But, you know, hey, we were outdoors, you know, in the air, you know, and it was fine. It was great, you know.
It sounds really cool. Get to experience really cold weather with Blue Oyster Cult. Were you able to see your breath? Was it that cold?
Yeah, no, it was. It was a really cold October night, and of course, they always close out with "Don't Fear the Reaper," so it was very, very atmospheric, and it was great. But you know, but no, we're still scraping along. You know, the industry is tough, but I have to say that we're still in an interesting spot that we were able to get booked and do the shows that we did do this year, and to find out that really a lot of our fans didn't go away. And that there were new fans, you know, happy to become our fans, you know, and that's why it's really cool. You know, we're doing the show December 3rd, this Friday. Whoever comes down, like I said, will get to see the video for the first time before everybody else. And then Monday, December 6th, it's officially on YouTube. So just look up Kore Rozzik. You'll see the new video, share it with everybody. And then officially on Friday, December 10th, the actual audio single for Vengeance Is Not Enough will be available on all streaming, iTunes, you know, Spotify, the works, you know. So yeah, it's an exciting time, because we haven't really put out anything really new in a long time, and I apologize to the fans for that. You know, it was really just circumstantial. We were supposed to record a record in 2020. With Cleopatra Records, it was going to be a whole big next level thing, and then the pandemic just kind of washed that out, and you know, we're just kind of went our separate ways for now, anyways, and just kind of restarting, you know. But we're still here, man. We're definitely ready to grow. I'm ready to kill it.
For sure, and that was kind of a good segue for me, because I wanted to talk about the new music video real quick as I wrap up the interview. I know we talked about a lot of different stuff, but the music video. So. Can you give a little bit? What's kind of the theme, the hints? What's kind of the stuff?
Yeah, so
you can talk about.
I think what's cool about a lot of Kore Rozzik songs, the theatrical like storylines, and you know, I could say what it's about, but like people could also make their own like stories within it, I think. But yeah, it's Vengeance Is Not Enough. It's vengeance, it's revenge. But basically the layman's idea, without getting too technical, is there's a bad guy, and I'm coming to get my revenge, get my vengeance, and get my money. So there's a briefcase involved. But it's this power struggle. You know, I like I said, going back to kind of jokingly, I kind of wanted the video. See, one of our most popular videos was Mistress, and that was kind of like that was kind of my homage to like classic John Carpenter, like horror, Halloween. You know, it was gothic, and there really was no blood. It was all in the shadows, type of a thing. With this video is kind of like our Reservoir Dogs, James Bond, if you will. I'm kind of this like poor man's like action hero. I'm like, I don't know. I'm like Tom Cruise or some shit, basically, speeding down the freeway and infiltrating this bad guy's lair. And I basically have to go through a series of bad guys to get to the main boss to get that suitcase full of money. And the chorus is revenge, give me all your money, so that is very much in the video. And I'm also now live. When you see us play the song live, that whole gimmick of the outfit and the briefcase, that whole imagery is very much in the performance. But it was a fun shoot. It was directed by Tom Flynn, who's based out of New York. And he's done so many great art. He does all the Lamb of God videos. He's very, very well acclaimed. So it was a pleasure to work with him. But it was an intense shoot. It was a one-day shoot. And basically for 6 hours, I'm just getting my ass kicked. Like it was a very physical, shoot. I'm a big wrestling fan, and I had done some wrestling in the past. And my old guitar player Carlo, who had been in the band before the band really broke out, I helped break him into the business. He's now known as Carlo Weiss. And he's kind of a Kore Rozzik ripoff, but he's got like the rock star gimmick. He comes out with the guitar. He's actually coming out now to "Vengeance Is Not Enough" as his theme song. So Carlo is in it, and we actually do like a full wrestling, match, if you will, in it. There's a martial arts guy. There's a lot of little nods to like certain things. We'll see if people kind of get the jokes or not. But it's fun, it's badass, but it's also not meant to be taken too seriously, but I always seem to sometimes write these songs. I thought on the first record, Can't Stop, Won't Stop was kind of like a wrestling pay-per-view theme. And I think the song's got kind of that wrestling kind of vibe to it. And I've been very fortunate enough to get to hang out with a lot of WWE superstars. I'm good friends with Ron Killings, R-Truth. I actually just spoke to him yesterday. I'm trying to help him get a videographer to do something tomorrow. Actually, he's getting interviewed by Sam Roberts. So we keep in touch and stuff. I'm inspired by not just music, but also wrestling and other forms of entertainment. So it's always cool when we can kind of incorporate that into it. So I think this video is going to be. I'm hoping people are really going to like it. I think the video is a lot of fun.
I love everything what you just said. I really look forward to seeing the new music video. Obviously, if you're in Baltimore, you get to see it before it's released, or you can check it out December 10th as well when it's officially released. But yep. I love it. I'm a huge wrestling fan as well, so I'm curious how everything's going to work out with everything. Yeah. I'm really interested now to see everything. But did you do your own stunts like Tom?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. It was great. Like I said, it's funny, man. It's like I'm a singer, but in many ways I'm kind of like I'm a failed stand-up comic, and I'm like a failed wrestler. And I think that happens with a lot of people in entertainment. We all kind of wish we were like something else. And I've always been a wrestling fan since I was a kid. I had done some backyard wrestling when I was younger. I had done a little bit of training. And obviously I've had the pleasure of being around people like R-Truth. So, but I think wrestlers and musicians, there's a little bit of a bond there. We kind of they get paid a lot more money than I do, but it's that same kind of like, grinding, road dog kind of thing. I think we kind of understand that hustle, and because I never really was able to pursue wrestling for a variety of reasons, I'm just not that coordinated. And I hurt my neck and my knees at an early age with that. So, but anytime I can like at least pretend, and get to do something physical on camera, I'm all about it. Like I said, if I could just be like a poor man's Tom Cruise or something, it's great. So it was a lot of fun. And obviously, getting to work with my brother Carlo on a wrestling, scene was great. Cause he's really doing well in the independent scene now. So it was like fun to work with him, basically, you know. At least get to be that for a little bit, just sort of, you know. It was cool.
All of that sounds really awesome, especially get to work with some really cool people to do other things that's not, it's music related, but not necessarily music related. Obviously,
right.
You're coordinating a fight and, hopefully not actually hurting each other a little bit.
Right. Well, that was so funny about it, because when I started talking to Tom about what I wanted to do, Tom was like, well, I've done some stuff in the past, and like in the movies, the way they like pull the punch, they really don't make any impact. And I was like, no, like we're really gonna we didn't beat the crap at each other like for real, but we made impact. Like I made sure it looked as vicious as possible, hitting in the head and the hair flipping back. And even with the martial arts guy, I was like, make contact, give me that push kick, push me into the wall, do it. And it's funny because as good as the video looks, I don't think all the beatings I took really did it justice. When you watch it back, it's kind of like it happened so quick. It's like, but I was good and sore after that shoot. It was great.
That means that was a great music video. But yeah, definitely all sounds really cool. Definitely check it out. December 10th. Bench is Not Enough. Official music video drops. But it sounds like you had a real great time filming it. I'm really excited to actually now see it, and I'm just interviewing you and I haven't seen anything yet. I'm already excited.
Yeah, and I think it's good because it kind of sets the bar for like what could this band possibly do in the future. I think what's really cool about it is that we went a really different route with this video. In Mistress, the band's playing in the dungeon, and there's me and the mistress and the victim. So there was some A-B, storyline band playing. This video is like straight movie. Like the band are dressed up as different characters, and we're just fighting it out. And, we're in this alternate universe, not necessarily being us as the band. We're just like characters. And, I kind of took that as a nod to like, bands like Rammstein or like the Foo Fighters, where sometimes they'll do a video where like they're just these wacky characters. They may or may not be playing instruments even. And I think sometimes those videos can be a little bit more interesting. And I always saw the Kore Rozzik character myself as kind of cinematic, so it's not that we'll never do a video again of us like being a rock band, rock stars, playing. But at least this opens it up to like, well, we can do anything. We could be violent. We could be silly. We can do whatever we want. So I think it's exciting for that reason also.
I think it's really cool to like, kind of mesh different styles to make, you have the classic music videos where we're playing and, stuff is happening around us, but the band's still visible, still like playing music. Or you got like the one, I don't know if you saw Run by the Foo Fighters where they're breaking.
Yeah, they're like old and stuff is great.
Just how goofy that is, and they like all jump into a Prius or something.
Yeah,
just some goofy like that to really like it's memorable. Like I remember that. I think that was like a couple years ago, 4 years ago, something like that. And it's still memorable. Like you knew instantly what I was talking about, and I think that's always cool. It's something memorable to really leave an impression with somebody. And it's also like the cinematic wrestling matches where like I know people were really divided when Matt Hardy started really doing stuff like that.
Those were genius.
I loved them. I know people really like, oh, it's not true wrestling. It's not in, it's not with the audience.
I mean, that started a trend. I mean, Matt did it in TNA. He did it in WWE. Bray Wyatt obviously started, kind of doing it. I mean, even in AEW, they did it with Sting. And they obviously did it. And I think best matches, with AJ Styles. And I think it's great because it does a different tone. And also for some of the older wrestlers, they're kind of able to pull it off a little bit because you can do cuts and you can tweak stuff. I think it's cool. I think it has its place. I don't think it's a bad thing. No, I love it. The Boneyard match with Undertaker and AJ Styles, one of my favorite matches, and I think it was cool to for a good way to Undertaker end with a really great match like that. I know it wasn't in front of a crowd with actual people, right?
But I think it was just that whole storyline with everything I thought was really well done, especially for throwing Gallows and Anderson off the roof was one of my favorite moments.
Yeah. That was great.
Yeah. Anyway, so, but yes, definitely. Music video drops December 10th. But anyone curious, where are the best places to find Kore Rozzik online?
Pretty much anywhere. If you just look up Kore Rozzik, KoreRozzik. I mean, you can find us anywhere. YouTube.com/Kore Rozzik, Twitter.com/Kore Rozzik, Instagram.com/Kore Rozzik, Facebook.com/Kore Rozzik NYC, and there's also KoreRozzik.com. And obviously, we're on Spotify. Apparently, a lot of our fans are using Apple Music. I didn't realize that was so much a thing. I don't know if Apple Music is different than iTunes. I don't know. I'm kind of old school. I don't know. But yeah, we're on all the major streaming outlets, iHeartRadio, all that stuff.
I'm definitely leave some links in the description. If anyone's in the Baltimore area or they want to take a drive, he'll be there. Zen West Friday, huge headlining show playing Avengers Overdrive in its entirety with some fun stuff as well. Make sure to check them out. But Kore, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I had a real great time chatting with you.
Likewise, man. Thank you.
Kore, went a little bit over time, but I really enjoyed chatting with you about a bunch of different stuff, not only music, but some also fun stuff as well.
For sure, man.
So for Rozzik, Kore Rozzik of Kore Rozzik, sorry, did not have a good lead-in with that.
That's okay.
For Kore Rozzik, the man himself, I am your host as always, Matthew Thomas. This has been Super Cool Radio. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Stay frosty.
Player.